Yeah, I'm going to get started by welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Watchung Yu. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This is the third day of a 5-day course that I'm teaching, and I'm sure some of you guys are just here for the morning, and that's fine. You guys are welcome to stay as long or short as you'd like. We start our classes with meditation, and then afterwards I move into a talk to be able to help you guys to understand the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha figured out 2,500 years ago how to get to enlightenment, where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any discontent feelings. You will have eliminated all the causes and conditions that are producing things like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So there's training of the mind. There's no belief or rituals or ceremonies here in the teachings of the Buddha. Instead, it's doing this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development, becoming a better and better human being. So if you guys would like to stick around, my plan is to join you guys with meditation and have you guys to be guided in a meditation session this morning. And then afterwards, I'm going to share this talk on transforming the three poisons. This is where you learn the three high-level problems in the mind that the Buddha discovered, and then also the solutions of how to fix that. We're going to take a mid-morning break, and then when we come back, I'm going to teach something called the 5 precepts. These are the 5 impactful decisions that you could make either wisely or unwisely, and it'll lead to either wholesome results or unwholesome results. If you've heard that the Buddha taught no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no intoxicants, this isn't actually from the Buddha. He never ever taught that way. That sounds like black and white. It sounds like rules and commandments. I'm going to be using his original words so you can see what he taught on this topic, and then I'm going to show you how to relate it to your day-to-day decision making so you can apply these teachings and experience the results. We're going to take a lunch break for about an hour and a half, and then when we come back around 2 o'clock, I'm going to be sharing walking meditation. This is a different position of meditation where you can actually use it if you're falling asleep in meditation, or if you have an overactive mind, if your mind's kind of busy and the last thing you're thinking about is sitting down to be still and actually meditating. Walking meditation is really helpful for you. So you guys can stay as long or short as you'd like. This is what I'm going to be teaching throughout the day. It's part of this 5-day course that I'm teaching, and we have classes tomorrow. We have classes on Friday as well, so people can stay, like I said, as long or short as you'd like. If you'd like to join for meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting. You guys are welcome to chant along if you like. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he actually used chanting as a way to help his students to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally, because everything he taught was oral. There was no ability to write things down during his lifetime. So he needed to use some learning tools, a learning device, to be able to help his students to be able to commit the teachings to memory. So they used chanting as a way to do that. So this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. There's none of those kinds of things in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing those kinds of things associated with his teachings, it's actually not his teachings. These are misunderstandings that people are having. Today, we use chanting as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you would like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. And we have chanting sheets over there on the cabinet where you're welcome to help yourself and get one. You'll be able to chant along, and it'll help you as you ease into the meditation. If you end up getting one of those sheets, you're going to see English translations. The English translations, there's a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because he wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, right? This would be ego or arrogance if someone did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't think of yourself as being above people or below people. You just think of yourself as being equal to everybody. So if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, all these other discontent feelings to the peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, I suspect you'd have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for that person too. So that's why I think these chants came from his students, either during his life or after his death. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be providing you some guidance where I'm going to be essentially teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and everyone's meditating. Everyone here at the temple and anybody who's joining us online will just all be meditating at the same time. During this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence, when you hear a sound, it'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. That's why you can eliminate these feelings because it's your own mind that's actually causing them. It's not the outside world. Oftentimes people think it's their mom or dad that is causing their anger and frustration, or their brothers and sisters are annoying them, or their boss is irritating them. That's not actually true. It's one's own mind that is actually causing these feelings. In the unenlightened state, the mind craves permanence, but you live in an impermanent world. So things are going to be constantly changing around you. You're not going to be able to have permanent silence while you meditate. So if you understand that, when you're in meditation and you hear a sound, you can be at ease because you know that sound's going to arise, it's going to change, and then it's going to fade away. It's impermanent. So you can just be peaceful and joyful as you hear those sounds. Then after the period of time of quietness, we're going to come out of that with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand the topics that I just shared with you guys that I'm going to be teaching today as part of our class. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like having a tool belt, and you kind of apply whatever tool you need at any given time as you are using your meditation techniques and everything else that you've learned in order to be able to train your mind. So seated position is a position that oftentimes people usually will learn in, and they'll kind of get started with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some suggestions on that. And then this afternoon, I'm going to be teaching the walking position. And in this course, I already taught the other positions. Yesterday, we actually taught those. So if you are just getting started with meditation, or you've been meditating for a while, understand that you can sit however you like. You can sit on the floor, you can sit in a chair, you can sit on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. There's not just one way to sit. If there was just one way to sit, that would be permanence, and we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world. Everybody has a different body. You're going to find different things to be comfortable. So what's important is that the body's comfortable. So find whatever position is comfortable for you. What I'm going to share with you are just recommendations or suggestions. You can use something that I'm sharing, but if you come up with something on your own, you can use that too. It's really up to you to find something that's comfortable. You're not interested in the body being painful or luxurious, because you're not training the body here. You're actually training the mind. So you like the body to be comfortable so that way you can actually train the mind. So if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. Some people just rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. The same thing's true for anybody who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting in a chair here with my legs crossed. So this is an option for you as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. It's helpful if the upper body is erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back. It'll help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because not only will it keep the mind attentive and alert, but it'll make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So I'm going to get started with the chanting. Again, you guys are welcome to join in. Then I'll come back in with the guidance to help you. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Emakewa Otang Makewanang Apiwateyami Sawakato Emakewata Tammo Damang Namasami Supatipano emahakawato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Iti piso emahakawa Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vicacaranang sammuno Sakato rokawitu Anutero purisa Namasati satatawa Manusarang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder. And whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. สัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาพุทธังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวัตตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวัตโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังปุตโตภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good morning to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. The individual who we refer to as the Buddha from the age of 35 to 80 spent 45 years sharing with people what it takes to be able to experience enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind by training the mind. It's these three poisons or these three unwholesome roots that are actually causing the mind to experience what it experiences in the unenlightened state. So one of the things that the Buddha does as part of his teachings is he explains what the problems are in the unenlightened mind, but then he also explains the solution of how to fix it. And as you're choosing to do so and you're training your mind, you'll see that your mind's becoming more and more peaceful. The teachings of the Buddha aren't about a bunch of beliefs and believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. Instead, it's about learning, growing, and developing in this life to be able to create a better and better life for yourself, where you're training your mind and you're experiencing more and more benefits through having done so. When you uproot these pollutions out of your mind, you'll notice that the mind has focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because in the unenlightened state, when these pollutions are in your mind, you'll actually lack those qualities because the mind is all muddled and it's confused with these particular pollutions. So you'll lack focus, concentration, clarity, and memory. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll notice that your relationships are all harmonious, that your personal and professional relationships are really blossoming, that they're at ease. Because in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility in the mind. And when you're putting that out, it's actually damaging your relationships, and all that stuff's coming back to you. Oftentimes in the unenlightened state, people feel justified in their conduct. They feel like their mom and dad are making them angry, so they deserve that hostility hostility and bitterness that's coming out of you. But in reality, it's actually being produced by your own mind. It's not other people that are causing you to experience these things. It's these pollutions that the Buddha discovered. So by understanding what they are and uprooting them, you can actually get more and more close to this peaceful and joyful mental state. By the time you get to enlightenment, it'll be physically impossible for you to even experience a bad mood, that you can't even experience a bad mood anymore. It's just physically impossible because the causes and conditions that are producing it have been uprooted. So meditation is an important part of your journey to enlightenment, but you would need much more than just meditation in order to be able to get to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is that people think he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. This isn't actually true. It took him 6 years to actually get to enlightenment. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. So there's multiple types of wisdom that you need in order to be able to actually move your mind to enlightenment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this talk with you to help you understand the 3 poisons, because these are the things that are keeping the mind in the unenlightened state. And by understanding these problems, I'm also going to explain the solutions of how to fix it. Because then once you fix it, you'll see that your mind's moving closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state. When you're learning the teachings of the Buddha, it's important that you don't ever believe what somebody is teaching. So don't believe anything that I'm sharing with you. Don't believe anything that's written in books. Don't believe anything that anybody else shares with you. In order to be able to get to enlightenment, you need to cultivate wisdom. The way that you get to wisdom is that you learn, investigate, and examine something intellectually. You then reflect on something to verify whether it's true or false based on your own direct experience. Then you actually practice what is being taught. You integrate those teachings into your day-to-day life, and that's where you see the real improvement. So don't believe anything that it is that I'm sharing with you today, because with belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because somebody either convinced you to believe it or you convinced yourself to believe it. You can listen to what it is that I'm going to share with you about these 3 poisons. And because your mind has these, you're going to see me sharing with you examples of things that you experience. And even though I've never met many of you guys and we haven't spent any time together, I'll be explaining to you the things that you experience on a day-to-day basis. And you'll be able to see through your own direct experience and through reflecting on this based on what you experience in life, that your mind actually has these pollutions in the mind. But then the beauty is that once you understand that your mind has these, then you'll be able to understand the solution of how to fix it. The solution that the Buddha shared for all of his teachings, they come back to a core central teaching called the Eightfold Path. This is a core central teaching that everything else integrates into. I shared this yesterday as part of this course, and if you weren't here, it's okay because I've taught this topic many times and I teach it many times. It's been recorded on our YouTube channel, on our podcast. We have books and audiobooks, videos, all these things. You can get all of this for no cost, and you can actually learn it and be able to understand how to train your mind. So an individual will typically start with the Eightfold Path. This is a core fundamental teaching that you get started with, and then other things integrate into it. So the solutions that I'm going to share with you today are things from the Eightfold Path, but it's penetrating in and showing you exactly what's addressing it. I'm going to be pausing a few times throughout the talk to see what questions you guys have, because that's part of learning. It's very rare that somebody would ever be able to understand something right away the first time they hear it. So you might actually have questions. And as you have questions, you're welcome to ask those. We have microphones in the middle of the room in the white bowl there. And we also have some up front here. If you get a microphone and take it back to your seat and press the gray button, you're going to see lights come on. And if you hold this up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and we'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then if you could keep those with you, you might actually have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question. You might decide to share the microphone with them. And if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. Anybody who's online, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, you can put your questions in the comments section. I'll be able to see that and answer your question. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions you like that way. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you what these 3 poisons are from a high level. And then we're going to go in and kind of talk about them individually. So what the 3 poisons are, they're also referred to as the 3 unwholesome roots or the 3 fires. They're known as the defilements or the pollutions of the mind. This is a high-level description of helping you to understand what is going on in the unenlightened mind and why it keeps experiencing things like anger, sadness, frustration, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, and all these other feelings. It helps you to understand how the unenlightened mind makes decisions and why you experience unwholesome results in your day-to-day life. Because when you experience certain unwholesome results in your life, oftentimes what people do is they say that's good luck or bad luck, or it's destiny or it's fate, or they might say it's God or some entity called the universe, or they might blame it on other people for what they're experiencing. But there's no such thing as good luck or bad luck. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as destiny or fate. That doesn't exist either. This being of God isn't controlling you and determining what you experience, and there's no entity called the universe that is controlling what you experience. And it's not other people that are determining what it is that you experience in your day-to-day life. It's your own decisions that lead to any particular result that you experience in your day-to-day life. And when you make decisions through these three pollutions or these three unwholesome roots, you will experience unwholesome results. We refer to this as karma. You might have heard the word karma being used. This is the Sanskrit language, where the original teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language, so we use the word karma. This means cause and effect, or action and result, the results of your decisions. If it translated to just one English word, I would use it because it'd be easier for everyone, but it doesn't translate to just one English word, so I still need to use the word karma. What it means is the results of your decisions. Whenever you make decisions wisely, you will experience wholesome karma, or wholesome results. And when you make decisions unwisely, you will experience unwholesome karma, or unwholesome results. When you have these three pollutions in the mind, these three unwholesome roots, you will tend to make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results in your day-to-day life. And that's where somebody will typically blame that on good luck or bad luck, destiny or fate, God or some entity called the universe, or other people. But it's not other people that are causing you to experience these things. If you need help to understand that what it is that you're experiencing in life is coming from your own decisions, think about these questions and ask yourself these questions. Who chose where you're sitting right now? Who chose the clothing that you're wearing? Who chose the hairstyle that you have? Who chose whether or not you ate breakfast this morning? Who chose where you live? Who chose the friends and the people that you spend time with? Who chose the job or occupation that you have? These are all decisions that you're making. And it's not about blame or fault. It's not about punishments or rewards. That's not what the teachings of the Buddha are about. It's about helping you to see true reality of what's truly going on in your life, because the beauty of understanding the natural law of karma and that what you're experiencing in your life is coming from your own decisions is that if there's anything that you don't particularly care for that's going on in your life, that you would rather that thing not occur, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. But if you think it's good luck, bad luck, destiny or fate, God or some entity called the universe or other people, then you will be stuck and you won't cultivate wisdom. You won't make different decisions and you won't experience improved results. So by seeing true reality, this really empowers you to be able to make wiser and wiser decisions. So for example, if I was walking down the beach and there was wind blowing in my face and I'm kicking up the sand and the sand's blowing in my face and I'm like, this is good luck. This is bad luck. Or, this is destiny, or this is fate, or this is God, or some entity called the universe that is causing this, or this is other people that are causing this for me. Well, then I'm just going to keep walking down the beach, kicking up sand, right? I'm going to keep having this unfortunate situation occurring. But if I understand that it's my decisions that are leading to this, all I need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and now I'll experience different results. I can just choose to stop kicking up sand, and I can walk down the beach completely comfortable and have a nice fresh breeze blowing in my face instead of sand. So this is the beauty in understanding the teachings of the Buddha, is that if there's anything in your life that you would rather not occur, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you'll experience different results. But with these pollutions in the mind, it'll be very challenging for you to do that. So that's why the Buddha teaches you what these are and how to uproot them out of the mind so that you can make wiser and wiser decisions and get to a better and better life. Again, it's not about believing a bunch of things and hoping something good happens when you die. It's about getting to a wonderful life now in this life. And you can do that when you get rid of these pollutions. So this provides a clear description of the problems that are in the mind and how to actually solve it and apply certain antidotes or certain remedies. At the deepest level of detail, there's something called the 10 fetters that the Buddha teaches that helps you to be able to understand the pollutions that are in the mind. Yesterday, I taught a teaching called the Four Noble Truths, where in 4 simple statements, you can understand the problem in the mind, the cause of the problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward. This gives you like a little window into the unenlightened mind. The 3 poisons takes that a little bit deeper and helps you to broaden and deepen your understanding of what's going on in the unenlightened mind. The 10 fetters, that gets you into the really deep detail of seeing what's going on in your mind. And this is the way the Buddha would teach, is he would teach in this layered approach so that you could walk away from any given talk and you will have learned something. Rather than just go right down into the detail, he would talk in these layers. So that's what teachers usually do, is they start with the 4 Noble Truths. Now we're learning the 3 poisons, and then students ultimately will learn the 10 fetters as part of their journey to enlightenment. So the 10 fetters is the deepest level of detail. And we call them fetters because during the lifetime of the Buddha, if you were someone that they were trying to keep confined to a certain area, like a prisoner or a criminal, they would put a fetter around your ankle. What a fetter is a shackle and a chain and a ball. And then they would just keep you out on a field. Where today we put those types of people in prison cells or jail cells. Where during the lifetime of the Buddha, they would just attach a fetter around your ankle, a shackle and a chain and a ball. So when the Buddha discovered these pollutions in the mind, he calls them fetters because it's keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state, continuing to experience anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings over and over and over again. But just like a prisoner, when you release that shackle off your ankle, you're free, you're liberated. The same thing is true about your mind. When you get these pollutions out of the mind is now free. So there's these pollutions, but there's also solutions. The solutions are called the 3 wholesome roots. So there's the 3 unwholesome roots, or the 3 poisons, or the 3 fires. That's the way we refer to them. But then there's these solutions or remedies or antidotes that we refer to as the 3 wholesome roots. And I'm going to be teaching you guys those as well. From a high level, these pollutions, these 3 poisons, are called craving, anger, and ignorance. This is how they're referred to. Some people refer to them as greed, hatred, and delusion. So I'll give you guys an understanding of this, and then I'm going to drill into each one of them in detail, and then I'll explain the solutions to you as well. Craving, desire, attachment, wants, and expectations. What this is how the mind chases after the objects of its affection. The mind is longing, yearning, thinking that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So the mind will chase it and chase it and chase it and chase it. It thinks something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction. It's like the mind has an unquenchable thirst. It thinks if I can just get that thing, everything in my life will be perfect. Let me just get that thing. So the mind will think, what do I need to be happy here? I need some more money. That's what'll fix everything. Let me get some more money. So now the mind will chase after the money. And if it gets what it wants, it'll be really happy and excited about that. But if you don't get what you want, you'll get angry and frustrated. And then the mind's like, what do I need to be happy? A new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me get one of those. So then the mind will chase after that for a while. And you'll get your new boyfriend or girlfriend. You might be really happy about that, but that ultimately fades away and you end up being angry and frustrated anyway, right? And then you're like, what do I need to be happy here? I know what I'll do. I'll go to Thailand. That'll fix everything. Let me go to Thailand. So now you come to Thailand and you're so happy and excited to come to Thailand. But then it's time to go home. And then you're frustrated and angry again. It's like, I don't want to go. I want to eat the mango and sticky rice and play with the elephants and get massages. You're just hooked to this, right? So it's this craving that the mind has that you can only be happy when you get what you want. That's the pleasant feelings. When you don't get what you want, you get these painful feelings like anger, sadness, and frustration. And when this anger is arising, the mind firmly believes that it's something external that's causing it. So what the mind will tend to do is it'll tend to push people away, or it'll push a situation away. This is called aversion. where you think that the problem is external. So you might have pushed away your friends or family out of your life, thinking that they were the ones that were causing you to be angry. But you can see that that wasn't the true cause of your anger. Because if they were the true cause of your anger, when you pushed them out of your life, you would be peaceful and joyful from that point forward. But you're not peaceful and joyful. You still get angry. You still get frustrated. That helps you to see that they weren't the true cause of your anger and your frustration. They might have been doing something that was unwise, but just pushing them out of your life doesn't solve your anger and frustration. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't realize that it's craving that's causing your anger is you'll tend to be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal, trying to fear it into doing things your way. It's like, "Rrrr," right? And now this person experiences that hostility and bitterness, and they might choose to leave out of your life. Or the third thing you'll do is you'll tend to put your expectations on people and pressure them and try to convince them to do things your way. You might have been in arguments before where you're trying to convince people to do things your way. And if they didn't do it your way, you were going to keep getting angry, right? This is the unenlightened mind not realizing that it's its own craving that's causing this anger. It'll push people away, be bitter, harsh, and hostile, and put expectations on people. And there might be people that are doing this to you too. They might be pushing you away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or putting expectations on you. And you can't live harmoniously with all beings as long as the mind's doing this. Where this is coming from is this third pollution or this third poison. It's referred to as ignorance. The way that I prefer to refer to it is the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom, the confusion, the misunderstanding that the mind has, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. This word ignorance is something that people are translating over into English, but the Buddha wouldn't have called people ignorant or stupid or foolish. That's a degrading or disparaging way to talk to somebody. An enlightened being would talk to somebody in a polite and respectful and friendly way. So the Buddha wouldn't have used this word, but oftentimes people are using it. So that's why I use it, to be able to help you guys understand in case you've learned somewhere else. But a better way to think about this is confusion or misunderstanding or lack of wisdom, that the unenlightened mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. The unenlightened mind doesn't understand that it's causing its own anger. It's causing its own frustration. It firmly believes that it's other people that are causing these feelings. So the mind doesn't understand true reality of how the mind truly works and how the world around it truly works. So while we call it craving, anger, and ignorance, it's really because of this ignorance or this lack of wisdom that the craving and anger continues in the mind. So this is why the ultimate goal in the path to enlightenment is to cultivate wisdom, so that you can see true reality of how the world truly works. Because when you cultivate wisdom, you will see the truth that it's your own cravings that are causing this anger, and then you will apply the techniques to eliminate that craving, and then you'll eliminate your anger. But as long as this ignorance is in the mind, you'll just be confused, constantly blaming other people for what you're experiencing, pushing them away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, and putting pressure on people to do things your way. So as long as these three poisons are in the mind, you can't live a harmonious life. It's only a matter of time before you become disgruntled or frustrated or disappointed or embarrassed or angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. But when you get rid of these, that's where your mind can be peaceful and joyful, because your mind won't be doing these kinds of things anymore. And that's where you need wisdom to be able to do that. So now I'll go into each one of them individually, and I'm going to focus on the solutions here. That's really the point of this talk, is to help you see what the solutions are to be able to fix it. So again, this craving, this desire, this longing, yearning that the mind has, the mind craves permanence, wanting things to be permanent. The mind is longing, yearning, and chasing after things. But yet you live in an impermanent world. The mind craves for everything in the world to be permanent, and it tries to hold on to it, and it wants it to be permanent. And then when it changes, the mind doesn't like that. So for example, think back to a boyfriend or girlfriend that you got together with. When you guys first got together, you were probably so happy. You're probably so excited. This person was showing you attention. They were calling you and checking in on you. They might have been inviting you to the movies, to dinner. You might have been going to the park, having great walks and conversations. You might have been having intimate contact together, and you were getting all these pleasant feelings by spending time with this person. And now as time went on, the relationship deteriorated and you guys broke up. And now you might have been angry or frustrated, or you might have been sad or lonely or bored or missing this person. It wasn't your love that was causing this. This was the mind holding on and craving permanence, wanting this person to be permanent in your life when it's not possible for anybody to be permanent in your life. Every single person in your life is impermanent. Everyone's going to be coming and going. And at the end of this life, we're all going to die, and everybody in our life is impermanent. It's constantly changing. But the mind craves permanence. So if the person was in your life, there was a certain amount of comfort because the mind was getting what it wanted. But when the mind wasn't getting what it wanted and what it expected, it experienced this grief or sadness or sorrow. Or think about if you've had someone close to you that has died or passed away. Maybe grandma or grandpa, mom or dad, brothers or sisters. You're not a bad person if you experience grief and sorrow and sadness there, but it wasn't your love that was causing that. That was the mind holding on and craving permanence. As long as grandma and grandpa were alive, the mind was getting what it wanted. So there's a certain amount of pleasure there, pleasant feelings, because its cravings were getting fulfilled. But when it experienced this impermanence, this change, where grandma and grandpa are now dead, the mind didn't like that. The mind was holding on and craving permanence, where in reality, because they were born, they had to die. Every single one of us are going to come and go in and out of this world. So here's an example that doesn't involve relationships, that you might be able to see it a bit better. Think about if you had a brand new car and you saved up for this car for a really long time, and it was like the perfect car. It's your dream car. You've always wanted to buy this car, and you finally got enough money to go buy this car, and you go purchase it, and they give you the shiny new keys, and you get in the car and you drive it off the parking lot, and everyone's like, wow, look at her. She's so successful. Wow, look at him. He's so successful, and you're so proud driving your brand new shiny car. And now you park it at a store, and you go inside and you come out and there's a big scratch across your car. Oh my gosh, you might be crushed, right? You might be so angry and frustrated. It's not the scratch that's causing this. And it's not the person who scratched your car. What's causing the anger and frustration is the craving for permanence, that the mind's craving for this car to be permanently beautiful, where it's not possible for this car to be permanently beautiful. Now, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is going to get a scratch. It's only a matter of time. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's only a matter of time before this car deteriorates. If you crave permanence, as this car deteriorates, the mind's not going to like that, and it's going to experience anger and frustration. So the mind's holding on and craving permanence. You can see this if you've ever gone to an airport thinking that your flight was going to be leaving in 1 hour, and maybe you were checking in with your bags, and they said, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry, sir. You can't check in right now. Your flight's not leaving for 3 hours. It's delayed. Well, if you notice anger and frustration coming up there, it's not the airline company that's causing that. That's the mind's craving for permanence. The mind wants every airplane to take off on time, where it's not possible because you live in an impermanent world. Things are constantly changing, right? Everybody else's plane can be late. You don't mind that, right? But your plane, the one that you're on, that one needs to take off on time, right? But the fact is that there's going to be weather issues, there's going to be maintenance issues, there's going to be crew issues. It's only a matter of time before you encounter some delay if you travel, because the world is impermanent. But the mind craves permanence. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence. Another way to say it is that the mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change. When things are changing in your life, those are the most difficult times. Those are the times that you've struggled the most. When you were changing living locations, when you were changing jobs or occupations, or your relationships were changing, that's when your mind was struggling the most with anger and frustration and all these other discontent feelings. So again, don't believe what I'm sharing with you. You need to be able to independently verify this for yourself. So I'd like to give you a moment to think about a recent time where you've been angry or sad or frustrated. It might have been this morning or yesterday or last week. Look at that situation with these fresh eyes, because at that time you might have been trying to blame somebody else for what you were experiencing. But look at it with these fresh eyes. What was it that you wanted? What did you expect? What were you longing, yearning for? And if you would have gotten it, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get what you wanted, the mind was angry or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. If you can see this, you can have a real breakthrough. Because once you see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, it's very empowering. Because then that means you can fix it. If it's everybody else who's causing these feelings, you can't fix it. There's nothing you can do to stop everybody else from doing those things that are triggering your cravings. But when you come to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, you can fix it. And that's what the Buddha helps you to be able to see. So I encourage you to look at this closely. And if you have trouble seeing it, let me know, because I will help you. When we get to the question period, if you can't see that it's your own mind causing these feelings, just let me know. I've had plenty of students over the years need my help. I'll give you guys just one example. I had a student one time that contacted me and they said, David, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay, sure. What's going on? They said, well, I know that you teach that it's my own mind that's causing these feelings, but I'm sure it's my wife. And I said, okay, what's going on? They said, well, I went to work the other day and my house looked beautiful. And when I came home, she had this craft project all over the house. And when I walked in, I got angry. I got frustrated. Why is it that my mind caused these feelings? Didn't she cause these feelings? I wasn't even there. She's the one who messed up the house. Didn't she cause me to be angry? And I said, no, she didn't cause you to be angry. Your mind was craving permanence. When you left for work, your house looked a certain way, and you were wanting and expecting it to look exactly the same way when you came home. The only thing you experienced was impermanence. Something changed. And your mind didn't like that. Your house looked different. Your wife will put away that craft project at some point. That's not permanent either. So the thing that's happening is just change. When it goes from sun to rain, sometimes people get angry, right? They get frustrated, right? The only thing that's happened is change. Their mind is craving permanence. They're looking at the sun and they get happy, but then when it rains, they experience anger or frustration. The only thing that's happened here is change. That's just impermanence. It's normal. When your bank account balance is up here and you're really happy and excited, then when it goes down here, you're frustrated or angry. The only thing that's happened is change. That's it. But the mind craves permanence. So if you can see this, this is really beautiful, because then you can understand that you can actually solve it. And these are the two solutions that really target it. Remember, the Eightfold Path is the core central teaching that the Buddha teaches in order to eliminate craving, desire, attachment. But what's targeting it is something called breathing mindfulness meditation. That meditation we just did this morning, where you're focused on the breath, and anytime the mind moves off the breath, you cut that off and let it go, and you come back to the breath. This is training your mind to let go. Because with craving, desire, attachment, your mind is holding on. It's craving permanence. It doesn't want to let go. That boyfriend or girlfriend that you were with, you were holding on. And that's why you were angry or lonely or bored or missing that person, because you were holding on. But at some point you let go. And when your mind let go, that's where your peace and your joy came back. But the mind doesn't know how to let go in the unenlightened state. So this meditation that we just did, the goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to notice them sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. So if 10, 20, 30 times you had to let go and come back to the breath, let go and come back to the breath, this is very good for your mind. It's like exercising your mind, making it stronger to be able to let go. Then there's the generosity. The generosity is where you're giving and sharing more than is strictly required in any given situation without any expectation of anything in return, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources. When you're giving and sharing, this is also training your mind to let go, because in the unenlightened state with craving, desire, attachment, you'll be somewhat selfish. You'll hold on to things very tightly. It's my money, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my clothes, my food, mine. The mind will hold on to it. But when you give and share and you're joyful in sharing with other people and you don't have any expectation of anything in return, this is training your mind to let go. This is very helpful for you. And I would encourage you to do this on a daily basis, that you're looking for ways to share with other people. Like say you're walking into a store and you notice that there's someone behind you. you could hold the door for them and let them go in before you. But remember, you need to do this without any expectation of anything in return. Because if you're standing there holding the door and they walk through and they don't say thank you, you'll be frustrated. You'll be annoyed, right? Because you're wanting and expecting everyone to say thank you. That's the craving for permanence. That some people are going to say thank you when they walk through the door. Other people aren't. That's impermanence. That's the way it works. That's the way the world works. Now, when you walk through the door, you probably say thank you, but other people may not. And that's normal because we live in an impermanent world. So if you're going to hold the door for that person, it needs to be without any expectation, not even a thank you, that you're only practicing generosity for one reason, to enhance the quality of your mind. So, for example, if you get your clothes out of the washing machine and they're ripped and torn and you get frustrated about that, that's because your mind's craving permanence. You want your clothes to be permanent. What I would encourage you to do is start practicing some generosity. Start giving away some of your clothes to people, right? If you're noticing when your bank account balance is up here, you're happy, and when you're down here, you're frustrated, you would like to be able to practice generosity with some of your money. You've got to do this from the middle way, though, because if you do it excessively, you're not going to have the resources you need to take care of your own self and the things that you need. But if you're never sharing, then you're going to be quite selfish. So you're going to need to find ways to regularly share. Like, say you're going to the market and you're buying yourself some mangoes. Well, maybe you know that your neighbor likes bananas, so you toss some bananas into the bag. It takes you an extra 30 seconds to a minute to be able to buy these, and now give it away to your neighbor. And you'll see that this helps train your mind to let go. Maybe you're going to get yourself a chocolate bar in the store, and you're going to buy yourself some candy. Buy one or two extras. You don't even know who you're going to give it to, but you just know you're going to see somebody today that you could give a chocolate bar to. And this will help you to train your mind to let go. What you'll notice with meditation and with generosity is frequency is more important than the amount. So if it was a matter of one meditation for 30 minutes or 2 for 15, the 2 for 15 is actually going to be more impactful and more helpful for your mind. If it's a matter of giving away $500 once a year to a children's orphanage, or giving away $1 a day, you're going to see the $1 a day is actually more helpful because you're having to more frequently let go, let go, let go. Right? So this is what you would like to be doing in order to eliminate craving, desire, attachment, is breathing mindfulness meditation and practicing generosity. So any questions on this one here? Anything you guys would like to ask? Yes, ma'am. The battery should work. I changed them this morning. Just takes a second. There you go.
My question is that I know the frustrations and the sadness is caused because my mind is searching for permanent, but also the modern psychologists say that it's natural that you feel sad, you feel unhappy, and you should respect your own feelings. So I want you to know what's your opinion to these thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, modern psychology hasn't understood what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. In my opinion, the Buddha was the world's most foremost expert on the human mind because 2,500 years ago, he figured out how to eliminate anger, sadness, frustration, and all these feelings. Here we are today with modern psychology, and what they're typically teaching you is how to manage your feelings or how to cope with your feelings. But the Buddha's teachings are well beyond that. And there's some psychiatrists and some therapists that understand the Buddha's teachings, and they understand that this is possible. But the vast majority of that field doesn't understand that you can actually eliminate these from the mind. It's not a defect of the brain. It's not a problem biologically with the human being. Humans in the unenlightened state, it is normal for them to experience anger, sadness, and frustration, all these feelings, but we can evolve to a better species, just like a snake or a lizard evolves into a different species and a better species. Human beings can do the same exact thing, that we can actually evolve to a higher consciousness where we no longer experience anger, sadness, and frustration. But because people have just kind of relegated themselves to thinking that this is normal and this is what the humans experience, and they're they're unaware because of that lack of wisdom, the ignorance or unknowing of true reality, they're unaware that there's even something that can improve what they experience on a day-to-day basis. So while it's normal in the unenlightened state, you don't have to live with anger and sadness and frustration. You can uproot the causes and conditions that are producing it. It's not biological that we experience that. Your brain is the physical organ, but what the Buddha is teaching you to do is train the mind. The mind is completely separate from the brain. It's not physical. It's not tangible. There's a connection between these two, but they're completely separate. So when you train your mind and you see that you're able to walk closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state and ultimately attain it, you'll actually see that 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, your mind is completely peaceful and joyful. You have all these harmonious relationships. When you're experiencing anger and sadness and all these things, your mind is so polluted that you make all these unwise decisions and it damages your life and you experience all these unwholesome results. But by the time you get to enlightenment and you're making all these wise decisions and all your relationships are harmonious, life is so wonderful. Over here with the unenlightened state, life is a struggle. Life is very difficult. It can almost feel miserable sometimes. Over here with the enlightened mental state, life is at ease, completely peaceful. You're living the ideal life. You're having harmonious relationships because you completely understand the world that you live in. Over here, you don't understand that world. So you tend to trip and fall and have difficulties. So while modern psychology is dealing with feelings in terms of managing and coping with them, there's actually something that's better than that if people decided to look at it and actually train their mind. And there's plenty of people who learn with me. There's thousands of people all over the world who learn with me, and they're experiencing more and more of these qualities of enlightenment, and they know the truth. But the vast majority of the world actually doesn't know the truth, so that's why they will relegate themselves to keep experiencing anger and sadness over and over and over again. You're welcome.
The story you shared about angry husband, it's like always holding yourself accountable for all these different moods. But my question is, sometimes you should hold others accountable as setting boundaries. So what are the differences between setting boundaries, hold others accountable, and let it go, hold yourself accountable?
So the whole idea that people are talking about setting boundaries, all that is a craving, desire, attachment. That is, I want you to interact with me in a certain way, and I'm now going to set this boundary, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to teach people how I want them to interact with me. And this is unwise, and it'll never lead to your peacefulness, because there's 8 billion people in the world, and you can't teach 8 billion people how you want them to interact with you. It's just not possible. Instead, what you can do is you can get to wise decision making, where you understand wise decisions and you make those decisions wisely about how to conduct yourself in the world. And if somebody's doing something that you consider to be unwise, you can choose to step away from that situation. And this will make sure that you're able to now make wise decisions. So it's not other people that are causing you to experience what you're experiencing, and trying to teach other people how you want them to interact with you and so-called setting boundaries will never lead to peacefulness, because you can't teach 8 billion people how you want them to interact with you. This is another modern misunderstanding. There's so many things in the world that people just don't understand. That's that lack of wisdom that the mind has. But because so many people talk about these things, people think that that's normal and that's the way that we should be. And now people adopt the idea that, oh, let me go set some boundaries. But you'll never get to peace and joy that way, ever. Okay, so now that you guys might be starting to understand craving a bit, where the mind's longing, yearning, forming its feelings based on whether it gets what it wants or whether it doesn't get what it wants. One of the things that can arise when the mind's not getting its cravings fulfilled is anger. If the mind gets what it wants, it gets happy, it gets excited, it gets elated about that. But then if the mind's not getting what it wants, it gets angry and frustrated and sad. And because the world is impermanent, you're not going to get what you want every single time. So if you keep allowing the mind to do this, then it's going to keep experiencing this. When this anger comes into the mind, there's this bitterness, this harshness, this hostility, this aggression, this resentment that comes out. And that's where an individual will push someone away, be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or put expectations on someone. And you might have people doing this to you, right? Where they're pushing you away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile, or putting expectations on you. It's coming from the mind's craving, because the craving isn't getting fulfilled. And the mind thinks, if I can just get what I want, everything will be perfect. So this is where parents might put pressure on you to do things their way. And they think that they're going to get happy if you do things their way. Right? This is the mind's selfishness, the mind's craving, right? And you might be doing this to other people, where you're putting your expectations on people and trying to control them to do things your way. And the mind's trying to get its cravings fulfilled. But this is no way to actually get to peace and joy, because you can't get 8 billion people to do things your way. So this anger and hostility that's coming up in the mind is because the mind's not getting what it wants and what it expects. But the thing is that we live in an impermanent world, and everybody does things differently. You're never going to be in a situation where everybody does things your way, because there's only one person in the world that actually does things your way. Do you know who this person is? The one person who does things your way all the time? Yourself, right? So if you can only love people who do things your way, then that means you can only love yourself, right? And you probably have a hard time doing that from time to time, right? You probably hate yourself sometimes, put expectations on yourself, trying to control yourself to do certain things. So the solution to this is what's called loving kindness meditation, and practicing loving kindness through your intentions, your speech, and your actions in your day-to-day life. Loving kindness meditation is a different form of meditation than we did this morning. This is a meditation that I sometimes do on Wednesdays, and I sometimes do it on Sundays with students as well. I teach it in various courses and retreats that I share, where you basically are rewiring your mind to be loving and kind. It's like filling up your gas tank with this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. This is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. This is active goodwill towards all beings. So you fill up your gas tank with this meditation, essentially, and then you go out into the world, and through your intention, speech, and actions, you're loving and kind with the people around you. And this is what's going to transform your life and transform your relationships. Oftentimes when you have difficulties in relationships, people think the way to solve it is to be able to change the other person. You might be doing this where you have difficulties with your parents, your siblings, your life partner, or people like this, and you might be trying to change them, thinking that that's going to help you get to peace and joy. But you'll never get to peace and joy that way, because you can't change other people. It's impossible for you. The way that you get to peace and joy is you change your own mind to be loving and kind. And the first part of this is to realize that everybody's going to make decisions differently. It's normal. You're not going to be in a situation where people make decisions the same way as you. So what you need to do in order to get to the point where you have love and kindness for all beings is, not only do you need loving kindness meditation and practicing loving kindness through your intention, speech, and actions, but you need to understand that you can disagree with someone's choices and decisions, and you can still love them as a person. Because love is have a genuine interest in seeing them be well. Love isn't that you're going to agree with someone all the time. Because let me ask you guys a question. I usually ask this question when I'm teaching this class. How many of you guys agreed with every single thing your parents ever did in their life and every decision that they made? Can you raise your hand if you agreed with your parents 100% of the time? Never, ever have I seen anybody raise their hand. It's always like this. Nobody's ever agreed with their parents 100%. And there's never going to be anybody else in the world that you agree with 100% of the time. So again, if you can only love people who you agree with, then you can only love yourself, because you're the only person that you'll agree with 100% of the time. So you need to learn how to separate the choices and decisions that people make from the person themselves, where we can disagree with the choices and decisions that someone makes while still loving the person. Loving someone means you have a genuine interest in seeing them be well. That's all that means. So you can get to a point where you separate that out of your mind, and now you can love the person, having a genuine interest in seeing them be well. And the loving kindness meditation and practicing loving kindness through your intention, speech, and actions is what's going to help you to be able to do that. So do you guys have any questions on this anger and how to get rid of it? Yes, ma'am. We have mics back here in the bowl.
That you can put boundaries to the others, and you can say the others how to act. But what happens if you are a teacher and you are teaching, you have children in your class, you have to put boundaries and say what they have to do, maybe in your point of view, because you think that this is the correct way.
There's a way to guide someone and provide them guidance without having a boundary or a rule or an expectation. As soon as you draw a line and you say, this is my expectation, because of impermanence, they're not going to meet that sometimes. And now you're going to be angry. If you set a boundary and you say, like, for example, you just talked about a teacher, right? Let's just say I had a rule or a boundary that everybody has to sit in a certain way. And everybody has to sit with their legs crossed, straight up, facing forward. You have to sit in these nice lines. Just think if I had that expectation, if I had that boundary. That's what I want, right? That's what the mind's expecting. And now I'm going to impose that on all of you. Would you enjoy that? Would you enjoy showing up to a classroom like that, where the teacher is expecting you to do things a certain way? You're not going to enjoy that, right? So for me, I'm not attached. I don't have a craving for everybody to sit a certain way, because that would be permanence. And that's not the world we live in. Some people would like to sit up against the wall. Some people would like to lay back and, sit on their elbows. Other people would like to sit other ways in a chair. So that's impermanence. But as soon as you put yourself in a situation where you say, I want every student to do this, now that's your mind craving permanence. And if somebody doesn't do it that way, you'll be angry or upset. So there's certain moral conduct that is wise for us to be able to practice. And a teacher can understand that moral conduct, but that's not about like how you sit or how you walk or, where you put your shoes. Some people put their shoes in the boxes. Some people put their shoes by the door. This is all impermanence. So we can guide children. We can guide people around us, but we need to make sure that we're not doing that based on our own cravings, desires, attachments. Because if you're trying to express those to somebody, you're going to put your demands on someone. You're going to put your expectations on someone and try to force them to do things a certain way. And you can only be happy if they do it that way. And then what the mind's doing there is the mind thinks there's only one way to do things, right? The mind's looking at the world as black and white, that there's a right way and there's a wrong way. That's not the way the world's constructed. There's a whole gray area, because there's always multiple ways to do things. There's multiple ways to sit in a class, right? But what the mind does in the unenlightened state is it looks at the world as black and white, and there's only one right way. And it's your way. It's my way, right? Each person who has ego in their mind, they think it's my way is the right way and the other way is the wrong way. And now what someone will try to do is they'll try to impose their expectations on other people. And now what someone might do is they might go around and give unsolicited guidance, where they're trying to control people and tell people what they should or shouldn't be doing. Instead, you need to be able to understand that everybody's their own individual being. There's more than one way to do things in the world. Your way isn't the right way and everyone else's way is the wrong way. Instead, there's multiple ways to do things, and everybody needs to be comfortable to do things the way that they feel comfortable to do it. And now if somebody would like to have guidance from you about how to do any particular thing, they will ask you for that guidance, and then you can share that with them. But once you put yourself in a position of giving unsolicited guidance to somebody and telling them how to do something in their life, this is your own ego that the mind's telling this other person, you should do it like this, and you should do it like that, and you should do it like that, and you should do it like that. instead, it's important that you only give guidance to people who are soliciting that guidance from you, because then you know there's an open door and they're interested in learning what it is that you have to share. If you're a parent, you're in the role of guiding your child, but you still need to do it with guidance, without expectations. So here's the thing to understand. Like, I'll give you this example. You'll understand this. If my wife had the expectation that I will take out the trash, and she's going to bed and she says, David, I'm going to sleep. Can you take out the trash? And I say, sure, I'll take out the trash. And now if she goes to sleep with the expectation that I'm going to take out the trash, and that's her boundary, that I have to take out the trash. Well, if I forget and she wakes up in the morning and the trash is still there, she would be angry. She would be frustrated because I didn't meet her expectation, right? But if she goes to sleep saying, hey, would you mind taking out the trash? And I'm like, sure, I'll take care of that. No problem. And then when she comes down and she sees that I've forgotten to take out the trash, and she's like, you forgot to take out the trash. Well, there's many ways for her to do this, right? She could choose to take it out herself. She could wait for me to wake up and say, hey, would you mind taking out the trash? Maybe she could ask her son to do it, or maybe she could just wait a day or two and see if I remember, right? But if you have an expectation, if you have a boundary, when you come downstairs and you see that your partner hasn't taken out the trash, you'll be angry, you'll be frustrated, right? So that's why when you adopt an expectation in your mind, when you put a boundary in your mind of this is what I want, you're sabotaging your ability to be happy and peaceful because of the world being impermanent. Sometimes people are going to do those things, sometimes they're not. And now you're going to experience anger and frustration when you're not getting what you want. So you need to be able to go through life with goals and objectives and interests and things that you're working towards, but you're not forming your feelings based on whether you get that thing or not. You understand? Yeah? Okay. All right. So now we'll go to the third one. Oh, you have a question? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm curious, what about the boundary is about, like someone's sitting in your classroom and keep yearning and interrupting you? Will you get angry?
Nope.
No? Okay.
There's nothing you can do to make me angry. And even if someone got angry, it's not you that's causing that, right? If someone got angry, that's because they have a certain expectation, right? That they're wanting something. They're wanting this permanence. So like you see, like people are getting up and leaving sometimes, right? That's just impermanence, right? But if I was craving for everyone to stay here, I'd be disappointed. I'd be frustrated when people got up and left, right? So you can train your mind to get to the point where you understand the world's impermanent and things are going to be constantly changing, and that's normal, right? Okay. Yes, ma'am. You have a question? There's microphones around.
You said that when we occur, we maybe push someone away, or we change someone. So I want to know, I understand like him more. Maybe the more I lose myself, or the more I'm not myself more. So I want to know if that, how do I know that's worth it, or maybe he or her is the right person for me to do it. I want to know.
How to know whether it's a wise choice to make with a life partner.
Yeah.
That's your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's three basic things that you need for a life partner relationship to be successful. If you don't have these three things for yourself, and if your partner doesn't have these three things, you guys won't be successful as a couple. You need a partner, and you yourself also need to know that you're not perfect. You're not a perfect human being, right? That there's work to do in order to improve. The second thing is you need a partner who doesn't blame you for the feelings that they're experiencing, because it's not you that's causing their feelings. And then the third thing is you need a partner who's willing to get help, realizing that they need improvement and they need to do this inner growth, this inner work. If you have the opposite of this, If you have someone who thinks they're perfect, who's blaming you for their feelings, and who is unwilling to get help, they're stagnated. They're not growing as an individual. So that means any relationship that you have with them, they're just going to think they're perfect. They're going to blame you for everything they're experiencing, and they're not willing to get help. You're stuck. You're not going to be able to make any improvement with this person. So these are the three things that you need at the beginning of a relationship in order to really get started and actually have a chance to do something wonderful with this person. But then once you're in the relationship, there's four things that the Buddha gives you that would be wise for you to practice as a couple, individually, but as a couple. One is you need to practice generosity with each other, where you're giving and sharing with each other. You need to practice what's called endearing speech, where you speak to each other in very kind and loving ways. And the Buddha teaches you how to do that with the Eightfold Path. The third thing is you need to have what's called beneficent conduct, where you treat each other morally through your bodily actions in a wise way. Like you're not cheating on each other, you're being respectful, you're not causing harm to each other with your bodily actions and things like that. And then the fourth thing, he talks about there needs to be equality, that you think of each other as being equal. Because if you think of yourself as being above this person or below this person, then you're not going to be able to have a harmonious relationship. Because whenever you put yourself below this person, you're going to be shaken up and scared and fearful. And if you put yourself above this person, you're going to think that you're arrogant. You're going to be arrogant, and you're going to be looking down on this person. So these are the four things that you would like to be practicing on a regular basis with your life partner. And this person, whoever you meet, understanding that they are imperfect, that's really important, because oftentimes when someone is looking for a partner, they have a real craving to have a boy or a girl in their life, and they think that this person is going to complete them. And they think, if I can just get this Prince Charming or this Princess Charming, I can just get this person in my life, they're going to make me feel so much better. And that's not true, because this person that you're coming together with is just as imperfect as you are. And now there's these two imperfect beings that are coming together, and they're there to support and encourage each other through life, but there's still work to do. You need to improve the way that you're functioning as individuals. And now as you improve the way you're functioning as individuals, you'll be better together as a couple. And this just means that each person needs to decide to get help, to be able to do the training, to do this work in their mind, to be able to get to a point where their relationships are all harmonious. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yes.
Hello, I have a question, because in daily life, we all feel like anger and maybe frustrated and all the three poisons. Okay. But sometimes I know I feel angry, I feel frustrated, then I want to make some changes, I want to make decisions, and there is a deadline for that. So sometimes I will feel like I was stuck, because I know I'm angry and know I'm frustrated, and it's not a good time to make decisions, but I have to make decisions. So how do I cope with that?
Okay. So first I'll say that not everybody is angry. Not everybody has these three poisons, because that would be permanence, right? There's some people in the world, a vast majority of the world, that does have these three poisons. But then there's some people who have purified their mind and they don't have these three poisons in their mind. And their life is very, very peaceful because they're experiencing enlightenment. So I'll just share that with you first. So your question, can you repeat your question?
I know sometimes if I feel angry and I feel frustrated, it's not like a good time to make decisions, but there is a deadline. I have to make decisions.
Right.
So how to cope with that?
Okay. So you need to be able to understand that whenever these pollutions have risen up in your mind, because like right now, you guys are just sitting here relaxing, talking, we're having a great talk. These pollutions are in your mind, but they haven't risen up. It's like they've been swept under the carpet, right? But if something gets triggered in your mind, these pollutions will kick up, where your anger will kick up in your mind, right? So whenever that's occurring, you need to understand that your mind is not in a good condition to be making decisions. And what you would like to do is you would like to delay or refrain from making any decision at all. Because whenever you're making decisions through these three poisons, it's going to produce unwholesome results. You're not going to be able to make a wise decision when you're angry, when you're frustrated. That's why the young lady that was here was talking about how, people just kind of, accept the fact that they're going to be angry and frustrated. This is really unwise, because when you make decisions through anger, it's going to produce unwholesome results. So the best thing you can do is choose to not make a decision. That's the best thing that you can do. And there isn't really, I can't really think of any situation where you have to make a decision. But if you have an example and you'd like to give an example, I can try to help you. But you would like to get rid of any craving, anger, and ignorance in any of your decisions. And if that means that you need to delay or refrain from making a decision, go away from the situation, remove yourself from the situation, that's the best thing to do.
Okay, so my current situation is like I officially resigned from my previous company, and I do have like 2 offers, and I have lots of struggles with those 2 offers, because one is like the pay is quite good, but the work is not that, I think it's not suitable for me. But for the other work, it's not that the pay is not that good, but it's okay, and I really want that job. So I kind of like doing the balance between the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And and there is a deadline for to accepting those 2 offers, or like give them feedback. So that's my situation right now. And I know I have a lot of like emotions, inside.
Okay, so I can give you guidance on selecting a job. This is beyond this, but I'll just share this with you, and then maybe we'll get back to this. So whenever you're selecting a job and you're choosing a job, you need to understand that compensation comes in 3 ways for a job. It's a triangle, okay? One part of it at the top of the triangle is the money, right? And that's a lot of times what employees focus on, is the money. Show me the money, right? That's what people oftentimes focus on. But there's these other 2 aspects of the triangle that is your compensation, and that you would like to look at in terms of selecting a job. You would like to look at the quality of work. What is the work that you're going to be doing? Because whatever the quality of work is that you're doing, that's going to help you grow your skills and grow your abilities, particularly early in your career. You look pretty young, so you would like to have good quality work so that you can be staffed on different projects that's helping you to grow your skills. The other side of the triangle is training. You need to talk to the company about what type of training that they offer. Because if they're offering you training, that's also compensation, because the more skills that you get, you'll be able to make more money in the future. So early in our career, oftentimes people like to focus on money, because you might have spent a lot of time going to college or training or whatever it is, and you want the money because you've been poor for so long while you're going to school. But really what you would like to do early in your career, pretty much the first 10 years or so, maybe even the first 15 years, is really focus on building skills and building relationships. Because if you build your skills and you build your relationships, when you get into your 30s and 40s and 50s, people are going to pay you top dollar for the skills that you've acquired. But if you focus on money really early in your career, you'll actually tap out, where you haven't actually built any skills because you've just been chasing money. Because usually the places that have to pay more money, it's usually because they don't have quality of work and they don't have training. So this triangle, employees wants to be really close to the money usually, right? And an employer wants to drive you down lower, closer to the quality of work and training. But for an employer who's paying a lot of money, that's because they don't have quality of work and training. And if you put yourself in that situation where you're just chasing money, you're not getting quality work, you're not getting training, eventually you'll tap out of your career, and 8 years, 10 years, 12 years into your career, you won't have the skills that you need to stay current and be able to get more and more money. So you would like to kind of be right in the middle of this pyramid, where you're getting a decent salary, you're getting good quality work, and you're getting training, so that now you can build your skills, build relationships, and then over the course of your life, your income's going to grow exponentially because you have lots of skills. But if you just focus on money, you're not going to be able to have the skills that you need to be able to really get top dollar as your career progresses. Okay? You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to go back to this now. So the anger is in your mind because of the craving. that longing, that yearning, that craving that the mind has, if it doesn't get fulfilled, it's going to get angry and frustrated. If it gets fulfilled, it gets happy and excited about that. Where all of this is coming from is this last one. It's called ignorance, or the unknowing of true reality. This is the lack of wisdom that the mind has, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. It has confusion. The mind in the unenlightened state firmly believes that it's other people that's causing you to be angry and frustrated. That's why it stays stuck, because it just keeps pushing people away, be bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, and putting your expectations on people. So in order to get rid of this ignorance or the unknowing of true reality, the mind needs to cultivate wisdom. And that's what the Buddhist teachings are there and available for you to do. You need to cultivate wisdom about things like the three universal truths, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the five precepts, the Brahma Viharas, the natural law of karma, the seven factors of enlightenment. You're going to need extensive meditation training. You're going to need to learn how to eliminate the 10 fetters. Getting to enlightenment is not instantaneous. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And you're cultivating wisdom. This is what's going to antidote all of this. Because if you keep staying stuck in belief where you think other people are causing you to be angry, you'll never actually have the solutions that you need to fix the mind. So while we call it craving, anger, and ignorance, it's really because of ignorance that the mind continues to crave and it continues to have anger. If it wasn't for this ignorance, the mind would have become wise, and now it would have learned how to eliminate its craving, and it would have learned how to eliminate its anger. But because the mind is unwise, it doesn't know how to do that. It's kind of like when we were first born, we didn't know how to take a shower. We didn't know how to take care of this body. We didn't have the wisdom of how to take care of this body. But slowly but surely, we learned how to take a shower, how to brush our teeth, how to comb our hair. We learned all these different things, right? People taught it to us. And when we first started learning, we didn't understand it and we weren't interested in it because we were too busy playing. Right? We didn't want to take a shower. We didn't want to take a bath. But slowly but surely, we were like, I kind of like feeling fresh. This is kind of nice. My parents don't even have to ask me to take a shower anymore. I'm just going to do it by myself now. Right? So we saw the value and the benefit of taking a shower and cleaning the body. Well, there's this other part to this being who you are, which is the mind. And if you haven't learned how to clean your mind, then your mind lacks wisdom. There's this ignorance or this unknowing of true reality in the mind. There's this confusion. And now it's no surprise that someone walks around with anger and sadness and stress and anxiety and guilt and shame and fear and all these other feelings because the mind hasn't been cleaned. It's got these pollutions. So if you walked around with this body and you hadn't cleaned this body for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, you'd be very uncomfortable walking around with this body. Well, if you haven't been cleaning your mind and you don't have the wisdom of how to do that, of course you're uncomfortable with the mind because the mind has stress and anxiety and frustration and all these other feelings. So what you're doing on the path to enlightenment is you're cultivating the wisdom of how to clean the mind and get rid of these pollutions. Just like you learned how to clean the body, you need to learn how to clean the mind because you're not addressing this entire being who you are if you're only cleaning the body. You're not taking care of the mind as well. And that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to do, is how to clean the mind. So any questions on this one of ignorance or unknowing of true reality? Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll just kind of summarize what we've shared here. As I shared with you guys the 3 poisons, the 3 unwholesome roots, the 3 fires of craving, anger, and ignorance. This is the longing, yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection, the angers, the bitterness, the harshness, the hostility, thinking that it's other people that are causing that anger. So now you're going to push them away, be bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, or put your expectations on them. And where that's all coming from is the ignorance or the unknowing of true reality, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. It's sometimes referred to as greed, hatred, and delusion, or desire, ill will, and confusion. There's antidotes to this. There's solutions. The direct opposite of craving is generosity. Because craving is that selfishness, the holding on, wanting everything to be satisfying for you. It's me, 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 me. Generosity is living open-handedly, sharing with other people without any expectation of anything in return. Then the opposite of anger and hatred and ill will is loving kindness, where you have a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. Then the opposite of ignorance is this wisdom, this understanding of how the world truly works. Because when you don't understand how this mind truly works, then you'll have a lack of wisdom and you'll make unwise decisions. You know, nobody ever gave you an instruction manual of how this being works. You know, if you have a computer, there's an instruction manual for that. If you have, you know, a car, there's an instruction manual for that. If I have a pitcher of water sitting on my desk at home, it probably came with an instruction manual of how to use that pitcher of water. But nobody ever gave you an instruction manual of how to function as this being who you are. That's what the Buddha is giving you, this instruction manual, to help you understand how your mind works and how the world around you works, because then you won't struggle and have difficulties. When you live in a world that you don't understand, when you have a lack of wisdom, you will struggle and you'll have difficulties. That's what stress and anxiety and frustration and all these other feelings are. So what the Buddha is teaching you is to cultivate wisdom. Don't believe anything, but instead learn it, investigate it, examine it, reflect on it to verify if it's true, and then you practice it. And as you integrate those teachings into your life, that's where you've got the wisdom to know true reality and make wiser and wiser decisions in your life. And that's where you'll experience more and more wholesome results. So I'm going to end class by just thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to understand the teachings of the Buddha and coming to the temple. If you guys would like to learn more, there's opportunities for you guys to do that. I'm going to take a break here to give you guys a chance to stretch your legs and all that good stuff, get a snack or use the bathroom. And then when we come back from break, I'm going to share this next topic, which is called the 5 precepts. This is 5 impactful decisions that you can make wisely or unwisely, and it'll either lead to wholesome results or unwholesome results. So I'm going to teach about this, and you guys are welcome to come back if you like. I know some of you guys won't be coming back. You weren't maybe even planning to be here this long. So thank you for your interest to learn. And if you're not coming back, whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Over there on our bulletin board, we have all of the things that we have coming up for the future. And you can also find these things on our website as well. And you're welcome to come talk to me and get plugged into the teachings and the resources that I share, because I suggest all of you guys to start with this first book of our book series. You can actually get this for free by downloading it from our website. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can order it on Amazon. And each Sunday I go chapter by chapter in this book. We're starting this program from the very beginning on this Sunday. I start it every 7 months. I restart it. It's a 7-month program where every Sunday I go chapter by chapter. And you can learn here or you can learn online, because I live stream all of our classes. So no matter where you are in the world, if you're interested in healing from what hurt you and get to the point where you're not experiencing the anger and sadness and frustration and all these feelings again, there's help here for you. And it's all available to you at no cost. So whatever you do, have a wonderful day, and perhaps I'll see you in the future class. Be well. Take care. Sawadee krap. Jai Jian. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.